we will go deep into the realm of the unknown and question everything as we search for the truth. We will explore the possibility of countless phenomena within the ultra spectrum, and together we will learn that it is all connected. This podcast is brought to you by the Experiencers Support Association, and it is a live stream broadcast. If you have a question, send me a super chat or become a YouTube member. This podcast is brought to you by the Experiencers Support Association. Take a seat, relax, get ready, and welcome to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat.
Sorry, guys, I left that on there. Welcome to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat. Today is Thursday, May 5th, 2022, and I, Ryan Stacey, am your host this evening. I am a licensed private investigator, a citizen journalist, and the Director of Investigations for the Experiencer Support Association. I'm also the former National Chief Investigator for MUFON Canada and the former International Field Investigator Trainer for MUFON in general. Welcome to the channel, and thank you for joining us this evening. Super chat, click the $ next to your name in the comment box. Go and put your comments and questions inside that chat box as well. Tonight's theme is ET Contact and Exopolitical Ambassador. Our guest for Season 4 is Episode 14, and it is Karen Holton. Karen is an ET experiencer, exopolitical ambassador, spiritual coach, channel, and shamanic guide. Her professional experiences include shamanic, I can never say this word, guidance, ascension, counseling, and public discourses. As part of the Forbidden Knowledge News Network, Karen hosts the Quantum Guide Show, which is a weekly podcast ideally suited to the newly awakened and for those already awake, but may be socially isolated by their alternative beliefs. Karen believes that self-love and self-care build the foundation for personal activism, awakening, and ascension as we become the change we wish to see in the world. Karen spent over a decade researching and educating the public about the nefarious global agenda here on Earth. Soon after, she received a spiritual download, and as a result, Karen created the Quantum Health Transformation Program to assist others to heal, evolve, and thrive. Karen has designed services to assist those who are waking up during these critical times and for those who are experiencing medical regret after receiving a certain untested medical device. Check out Karen's unique content on her YouTube channel, which is Karen Holton TV, all one word. And for her uncensored content, follow Karen on her backup at www.odyssey.com/@Karen Holton TV. Karen, put on your tinfoil hat. We were about to go down a rabbit hole. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great, Ryan. Thank you so much for having me on your show, and thank you for making such a nice introduction for me.
No worries, not without the help of CC. So thank you so much for putting that together. And it's a pleasure to have you. You've been a guest or a fellow commenter on the show for a little bit, and you've had me on your show recently too. So what better a place to have you now is on this show here to find out, things about you. And I'm super impressed with that bio. How do I say that word though? Am I saying it right? Shamanic. Shamanic. That sounds easy. How come I can't say it like that? Shamanic. I say it like, and I go over these things. I do. I swear it sounded right in my head.
Not a problem. Do you know what a shamanic guide actually does?
Well, we can get into that. You want to talk about it? But I want to do my icebreaker first. It's up to you. You're the guest.
No, please. Do the icebreaker.
Yeah. So, I'm a little comfortable. We've talked many times before, so I'm a little bit too comfortable here. So what we're going to do is our icebreaker, which is from CC. And I'll just bring the video up here too. So the icebreaker for today is, if you could choose a cartoon character to best represent yourself, which character would that be?
My inner self or my outer self that I show to the world?
No, question doesn't specify, so you get to choose.
Okay. Cartoon. In some ways, Daffy Duck.
Okay. Why Daffy Duck?
I tend to be silly. And the reason I
Okay.
think is because I'm a very sensitive person. I think about things on a very deep and profound level.
Yeah.
And I use silliness to break that up and laugh and look at the lighter side of things. And I know I look silly. And even my story, as I'm going to, share this evening, and parts of it are absolutely absurd and ridiculous. I wouldn't blame anyone for not believing me, but it is what it is, right? So I would have to say Daffy Duck.
Okay. I can't think of anything for me. I have no idea. That is a left. I don't know. And I'm not gonna go there. I refuse to answer this question. I have no idea. Okay, thank you. So, the first question I normally ask is, why are you the way that you are? But I am also curious about what a shamanic guide is. So walk us through how you got here and elaborate on shamanic guide for me.
Okay. Now this is just a theory of mine, but when I was younger and at different parts of my life, I experienced extremes of trauma. And I'm not going to talk about what happened to me because it's personal and that's not the right time and place for that. But what it did was it opened me up in order to survive. It opened me up to these other realms, these unseen realms, unseen beings. And I was able to do things and know things that other people didn't. But I was severely disciplined, if I ever talked about any of it, in my family growing up, because my parents didn't want anybody thinking I was crazy. My parents were really into social standing and what the neighbors thought and what, my stepdad's business prospects might be harmed somehow, if they had someone crazy in their family. So they really took that kind of approach. And because I had a very strong spiritual inclination, I kept going to churches looking for answers. And I did all kinds of churches and some of them for quite a long time. And I always got the same thing that, don't talk about that stuff. That's from the devil. That's evil. You're opening up yourself to bad things. And, only us at this church can tell you how to have a relationship with God. And the next church would tell me the same thing. And I sort of became afraid of my gifts, if that makes sense. And then when I got older, this is embarrassing, but when I got older, I didn't want to be a crazy person. Like, having the experiences I have clearly puts me outside of the box, clearly puts me outside of the construct. And so there might be 5% of the population that would listen to me and kind of go, wow, that's cool, Karen, or, be curious. But the rest are going to go, shun, scapegoat, target, make fun of, and nobody likes to be made fun of. Mm-hmm. And so I kept trying to shut it off. I just wanted to be normal and fit into the construct because I thought that was the real. I thought a lot of the other stuff, because I had been gaslit so much, and I had nobody to turn to. Plus, I'm virtually a non-reader. I struggle over the words and don't generate the mental images. So it's very difficult for me to read. And so I didn't read a lot of books. So I didn't find comfort, through the library, anything like that. And of course, we've only had, the internet for a very short time. I'm an old lady. So I actually even went to the doctors, and they ended up putting me into, counseling and putting me on anti-anxiety medicine and antidepressants. And I did the whole gambit through the psychiatric industry. I didn't feel crazy, but that was the first thing they said. If you don't think you're crazy, then you really are crazy. And I didn't want to be crazy. I wanted to be normal. I wanted to have friends, and I never fit in socially, and I'm socially awkward on top of it. And so basically, I kept stalling my spiritual progress until I got to the point where I was had a terrible experience, really terrible experience. I was divorced, and I had kids, and they were in school. And long story short, They ended up going and living with their dad. He wanted his turn, at raising them with his wife. And all kinds of things happened. And I got really sad. And I got so full of grief that I actually was imprinted by the spirit of a man who lived in the house that I was now renting. And so that's why I really believe that our frequency, not just our health, but our mood, our spirituality, all those things can attract other energies out there. And so I was in a very deep state of depression and grieving. And all of a sudden I started having these overwhelming urges to off myself, and in a very weird and specific way. And I didn't know where it was coming from. And I just thought it was because I was so sad and I didn't want to live anymore. I was just really, really brought to my knees. And then I had an angelic visitation. And it was amazing. And it was very explosive, which means it was visual, it was auditory, it was huge. It was probably like somebody who just did psychedelics, except I hadn't done anything. And so I was told that I could leave if I wanted to. We all have exit points in our life. But if I wanted to stay, they wanted, well, I say they, he, I don't know what it is, but it came across visually as like thousands of points of light, like what we see in the background on the screen here. And each one was flashing light, and the light was flashing out the sides like wings. And the voice was one message, one voice, but it was made up of thousands of voices all speaking at once. Like, it was really trippy. And then I was told that if I, why did I want to kill myself? And I basically said, because I feel like all I've done is struggle all my life, dealing with trauma, dealing with, living in a strange world where I don't fit in, it's useless. I don't want to do it anymore. And they said, well, if you want to stay, we will give you a helper. And I said, a helper? Like, what do you mean? And they said, that's for you to decide. We can't tell you what to choose. We can just help you to have it. And I went, well, I need to think about this, because this is huge. Who gets offered gifts from angels? Who even has visitations from angels, right? I'm no one special. I've totally screwed up my life so many ways. Well, until, more recently. But I said, I don't know. I can't think of what I want. And they said, you let us know, because we're always close by. Well, we always hear you. Later on, I found out that my signal strength is very strong, and I'm what they would call psychically very loud person. Anyway, they said, just let us know, and you've got it. And ever since that day, they have no auditory, no visual. That was a one-time thing, but I'm able to intuit and feel through body sensations, images, spontaneous knowings. Like, it's a whole bunch of things all combined for how I communicate. But I've never been let down. I've been in some really tough situations, and they've taught me so much. And that's not even including the ET thing. So I have these, that's why I want to do that little presentation in a few minutes, because it's very complicated, but it's not. It's all part of a whole, and it's all the same theme and the same harmonic. But anyway, that really kickstarted me into embracing my gifts. Long story short, it was a couple of days later, I went for a walk, and I thought, what do I want? I thought, well, fame would give me stuff. And I went, nope, that's not right. And I thought, money. Oh yeah, if I had $1 million, boy, I could really change my life. And I went, nope, that's not it either. Is it love? Do I want to have a wonderful partner? Well, yeah, that would be nice, but no, that's not it. Come on, this is a one-time gift, Karen. You got to choose something really, really helpful. It's going to make me cry a little bit, because it's just so big for me, Anyway, I asked for wisdom, because I knew if I had wisdom, I could find out my life purpose. I could help and make the world a better place. I could fix my own life. I could have a better effect on my family. I could see what's going on and change things. So I thought wisdom would be the perfect gift. So I asked for wisdom. And this is the really weird part about this is they said, do you want the fast method or the slow method? And me being stupid, I thought they were just going to pour the wisdom into me and make me super smart, right? I went, oh, I want the fast method. Turns out they gave me the wisdom and they gave me the fast method, but I had to go through life experiences and synthesize them with their help in order to gain the wisdom. It wasn't a magic thing. It came about through hours and weeks and months and years of self-contemplation and going through some amazing, horrible experiences that I would never trade, because they just gave me this intense ground for training, right? And then I had a little bit of ET experience before, but then it wasn't until about 2000. It's hard to say, 2013, 2014. Then I started having these ET experiences that were very, very amazing. So I'm hoping we get to talk about that. So does that answer your question? That's why.
It definitely does. I'm intently listening to that too. Like, I mean, first of all, I'm glad you're still here because you're amazing. And you're not crazy, because if you're crazy, I'm crazy, and everyone else that is listening and tuning in is crazy. So you're definitely not crazy.
Thank you.
You weren't hanging out with the right crowd, and it's the same thing. A lot of people feel like that when you finally find the people that you can open up to, and then all these things start to come out. And with the little bit that this is just not really awkward, but it made me feel comfortable, because we've had many conversations where you were asking me about things and I was trying to explain my experiences, and I'm not really understanding it or comprehending it myself. But the way you having an understanding and you being aware and asking for it and all that other stuff, and then that kind of experience that you went through, that's kind of how it happened to me, except I don't recall asking for anything, or maybe I did, and then that's how the download happened. I just didn't realize it was a download. I just didn't believe that it was divine until later. But you already had the spiritual and the faith at the time of asking. So it was more acceptable for you. So like it really related to that whole, like, okay, you want help? There's a lesson here. Your life sucks, but fix it. There's a lesson, right? Like, I mean, you want to live, you gotta endure, right? And yeah, I've been, and I'm sure there have been many people that have considered checking out early because it is stressful. But we're still here, and we're still kicking around. So there's a
little piece I forgot to mention. Can I throw that in now?
Yeah, Ryan? Of course you can. And then I'll get Serena in a minute there.
Remember what I said about how my frequency was so low because I was in so much despair and grief that I was imprinted by the man that lived in the house before? Well, it wasn't until 2 years later I met a woman, and she asked me where I lived, and I told her, and she says, oh my God, she says, a friend of mine, her son committed suicide in that house. And I said, when? And she told me when, and it was before I moved in. And she told me how he did it. And it was exactly like the compulsion that I had to do myself in. So I just wanted to throw that out because that was huge confirmation that what I experienced was real.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So Serena had said the same thing in the comments. I asked my guides to fast track my training, and totally resonate with that. So yeah, so you're not alone. You're definitely not alone, and that's brilliant. It's fascinating. So I mean, this download thing is where do you think it's coming from? So for you, it's angelic, right? You believe it to be?
No, it's not. It's a combination. Like for instance, when we in the 3-dimensional realm, we perceive being solid, being separate, being unique, individual. It's not like that in other realms. Like as we go up, Dave Petrella and I are going to do on his show at the end of this month, we're going to talk about dimensions. When you get into other dimensions, things are not the same as they are here. For instance, you're out walking in the sun shining and you look down, you see your shadow. Your shadow is 2-dimensional and it's emergent from you, and you're 3-dimensional. So we're emergent from fourth dimensional, which is emergent from fifth. And this is how it goes. Mm-hmm. So when we go into the higher realms, there's more of a melting of what we consider to be separate kinds of beings. You know, we're putting the indescribable into human language, and even English, which is a retarded language. It's so ambiguous and limited. So even just trying to find words to express our experiences is very challenging, right? And so where do I think it's coming from? It's coming from other realms for sure. It's sure not coming from anything that the powers that be are going to teach us here on planet Earth. Mm-hmm. But I think it becomes more and more of a group effort, and it's mediated, I believe, through the crown chakra. There's a chakra above, and that leads to all the spiritual stuff, including our higher self. And our higher self could be a composite of ET, fairy, angelic, masters who were alive before, and it's complex. But when we're given it for a reason. Like, we can all turn down a mission at any time, but if we go with it, oh my God, it opens doors of discovery that we never dreamt possible. Not just the information that we downloaded, because I myself have also received downloads, but even the way it socially brings us together, like Dave and you and Cece and me and others, it's an amazing, amazing thing. So where I think it comes from is I have seen a little bit of information about the Tessa map, and I actually believe it's a good thing. It's a unifying thing, and it'll unfold over time. So I think it comes ultimately from your higher self, who planned a long time ago to come down and do this, and in conjunction with other spiritual creatures. There it is. It's a thing of beauty. I'm actually been a little bit obsessed with it ever since I first found out, because it means something so significant, even though I don't have a clear understanding what that meaning is.
It's interesting, because the last episode of Dave's, we were diving into the map with the birth chart. Right. So you watched that episode. So I was up late afterwards trying to solve solve this. And I learned more about these working tools and a little bit too, but it took me reading something that I had forgotten. And it's interesting because, and my wife who's watching this knows for a fact that I was talking about this the other day after that I'm convinced that it must be my higher self or future self. Even Cece, I was talking to her about that. And you just said that now. We had a conversation about it, haven't talked since then. So there's a little bit of validation that I'm kind of on the right track. So something happened. You know, I'm thinking it's a date in the future, and my future self is telling me, figure this out now, because something, we're going to need it later. So let's put a pin on that, because this show is about you. but it is interesting, and I'm really happy about all this network, right? So the map does. One of the theories was that these are chairs and some sort of groups and guides of the right amount of people to be be a part of the association. So this is becoming more of a reality of them actually being seats in which people are placed. So it's interesting.
And I had a vision. I've had so many visions, but one of the visions, I do lucid dreaming very, very easily. And without even sometimes having a choice, it just boom, and I'm gone. But anyway, I saw that one day Earth, assuming we can, and I believe we can, and we are forming the new positive timeline, there will be a committee, or not a committee, but a group of 12 people, and the 13th would be universal consciousness, right? 12 people who would come to the table and sort out the issues that we're having here on Earth. And these people would not have power. They wouldn't have anything. They would just be people who would come together with specific skills and backgrounds and work on novel and new ideas to solve our issues here on planet Earth, in love and in truth and in spirit.
So maybe that's what this is. This is the Council of 12, right?
I don't know.
I don't know. Oh, Dave even said it too. Yeah,
Dave
Council
said.
of 12. Perfect.
Hi,
Yeah.
Dave.
Hi, Dave. Good to see you, bud.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, let's get into your document here. So I have this set up as well. So
okay, so if we could just this is actually going to be in my book. I'm writing a book, and I have issues with language and even my own, and so it's taking a while to get it going. But anyway, this is from my book. I've also made a couple podcasts about this, and the book is called Intergalactic Resettlement: Meet the New Neighbors. And this is taken from chapter 2, part 3, and it's my spiritual framework. And I've organized it in a way to keep a ton of information into as short and concise a format as possible. So I consider myself a quantum mechanic. And people might go, well, wait a minute, you're talking about quantum mechanics? No. I'm talking about a quantum mechanic. Just like if you were going to wanted to get your car fixed, you'd take it to the garage and you'd see an automotive mechanic. Well, our timelines and timeline that we're on now really needs fixing. And so when we work in conjunction with our guides, we start resolving intergenerational trauma and dysfunction. And that's not an easy thing. That's about changing patterns that have been in our families and in our background for generation after generation. And in here and now, it stops and we become a different kind of being so that we're not continuing with that energy. So that actually helps to collapse elements or timelines in itself. Sometimes it might involve being at the right place at the right time. And it's been like anything from just me getting the urge to go out. I don't know why, but I've got a call. I got to walk downtown or whatever. And there's somebody there and I just be friendly to them. I just have the urge to give them some human warmth and compassion. Right. And then it turns out that person's life is changed. And it can be even small things. We're going through the checkout at the grocery store and just the way we treat people. It can make profound changes in the timeline. And so by cooperating with our higher self and our guides, we can participate in that. And then there's choices that support the new positive timeline. So for instance, we may, like yourself, you had that download. That's not easy for you to develop, the Tessa map, to put yourself out there, to admit that you don't exactly know what's going on, but this is the direction. You're actually supporting by your choice to, for lack of a better term, take the mission. You're helping to support the new positive timeline. So that's how ways that we can work as quantum mechanics. But generally, it comes from us working with unseen forces, and that's how that happens. And I'm what I would call, and I don't have language for this. So please, some other people who are more famous and more well-known might have different meanings for some of these words. But I'm just, trying to make it so that I could communicate it to other earth people, because that's what this is all about. Mm-hmm. So I'm an energetic wide receiver. So my contacts can include interdimensionals, ETs, angels, and a lot more. And I can tap into whatever group or being has a job for me to do. And it can take, we don't have enough time to go into all the different ways that it can actually take place. But bottom line, all beings that I perceive ultimately work for Holy Spirit, which is also known as universal consciousness. So it's from a direct level of frequency. And to take part in diverse contact, I believe that our health, our psychology, and our spirituality must be upskilled and evolved so that we can hold the frequency necessary. So my download was a program called the Quantum Health Transformation. And I offered it and will always offer it completely free to anybody who has access to the internet and can understand basic English. It's there for everyone. And that's exactly what it does. It upskills people so that they can hold a higher frequency and have more of these experiences of their own. It's not enough just to listen to Karen talk about her experiences. It's important everybody start having their own legit experiences. Then we come together and change the world, and we're not going to fall for the construct anymore. That leads to my higher purpose. So it was about 2013. I was going through some depression, and I said to my guides, you've given me all these gifts. I've seen, the angels. But why am I here? Why am I actually here? I just want to know why I'm here. And so it was revealed to me that my purpose was to learn how to love and learn how to allow myself to be loved in return. Later on, I'm going to explain what I mean by love, because we're programmed in a system that's given us an illegitimate idea or an inaccurate idea of what love even is. Most people don't even know what love is. So I want to talk about that a little bit more. But I felt really happy and really free because I went, I can do that. I can love people. The harder part is to let other people love me, but I can do that. And so my overall purpose was not complicated, but it was actually totally achievable. And then later on, I began to understand that included within my higher purpose are the objectives to help anchor in the divine feminine and to help collapse, correct, and initiate new timelines. Now, that's a little phrase there, help anchor in the divine feminine, but that's a big concept. Basically, a long time ago, like, 10, 20,000 years ago, we used to be under a matriarchal system, and then it switched into a patriarchal system. And so along with that was the construct or the format, that a very few have had all the power and had all the resources, and the majority are not treated the way with the love and respect and dignity and everything that we deserve. And so what happened is we actually start using the masculine side of our brain even way too much, and there's not enough attention given to the divine feminine. So anchoring in the divine feminine doesn't just go, oh, look at me, I'm going to wear new lipstick. Anchoring in the divine feminine means using that side of my brain, which houses the divine feminine. We need the divine male, absolutely. I'll get into that a bit later on in this, but we need to exercise the divine feminine by really, regardless of what happens socially, embracing our gifts, being spiritual, being artistic, all the things that help anchor in the divine feminine. But it also means being a different kind of person, because we've been so programmed. It also involves overcoming our programming. And then, as I mentioned before, to help collapse, correct, and initiate new timelines. Sometimes I do that by just following orders because I get an inclination to go and do something and I do it. It's just being at the right place at the right time, kind of like the butterfly effect. And it can have far-reaching effects. And that would be, you can read more about that in chaos theory and the concept of turbulence, which is part of chaos theory, which is part of quantum physics, where basically things often get messy before they get better. So the other thing I wanted to say about this is this work is not something that we're all talking about on Facebook. This is very private work, and most people never even know how many hours a day we put into getting our shit together, looking after our bodies properly, making sure we have the right kind of association, all that kind of stuff. And that's what I love about Dave Petrella too. He's one of those people who spends every single day working on his program to be a better self, to be somebody who can help share the good news with the world and help people to have answers and solutions to their problems. I think could you back up just a little bit, Ryan?
Yeah. I think it kind of just skips automatically.
Oh yeah. Further, I work closely with, that's the part I wanted.
Okay.
Yeah. Just cause I get mixed up and I want to just keep this really straight. Okay. So, before I go on any further, did you have any specific questions for me to do with what I've said so far, Ryan?
No, I am intently listening, though. I'm engaged in this. Oh.
Okay. So further, I work very closely with what I call the morphogenic, also can be referred to as the holographic field, which I call Mother Father.
Okay.
And I also work with the living ultra conscious earth. I work with my higher self, which is 8th dimensional as far as I know. And I have a soul team. And it's made up of ETs, interdimensionals, ultradimensionals, angels, elementals, ancestors, and disembodied earth people. And I really suggest that people do research on all of these terms. And then I'm going to provide here a little bit of an explanation of what I mean by each of those terms. So if you could just move it up a little bit, the morphogenic holographic field.
That's where I can go. Yeah.
That's okay. So the morphogenic or the holographic field, which I call Mother Father, is all that is. It's all knowing and it's ever present. It is infinity and eternity. And sometimes people call this God, but since God is a title, I prefer to call this noumenon universal consciousness. A phenomenon is something that you see, and a noumenon is something that you know exists, even if you don't have evidence for it. But I prefer to call it generally universal consciousness. And holographic indicates that all things are emergent. You know, I talked earlier about how our shadow is emergent from our 3-dimensional self, and that's emergent from our 4th dimensional self, right? And so we're always emerging from a higher, I don't know if it's geographically higher, but a higher level. And morphogenic refers to the creation of all that we perceive through a field of created standing scalar waves. And, you know, you do your own research. I don't have enough, you know, it would take 2 hours. I still probably, because I don't even really understand the details on how this stuff works. Dave might know, but I don't necessarily know. But I do know very clearly that there's a field. And, you know, some people call it the Elysium field. It's a field where we actually have all the options, and then when we focus on one, the field collapses, and it's the standing scalar waves that leave us the perception of the objects or whatever it is that's coming into creation. Anyway, I call this Mother Father because it includes both female, which is creative, and male, which is structural energies, which appear as the golden ratio or phi and Fibonacci. And again, this is a ton of information just in that one paragraph, but if you want to do your research, that will give you some terms to look up.
So is the creative element always the female side? Like, is that like a standard in terms of?
Say that again. The what?
So the creativeness, where we get our like inspiration with art and things like that. That so that the divine entity from that is typically feminine, is what you're saying.
Yeah, if you want to see a picture of God, there's tons on the internet under images, and it looks like a spiral within boxes that get bigger and bigger and bigger. And the spiral is the creative female energy that brings about, and the structure around it that helps direct it and protect it. That's the male energy, and they need to work together. We don't have anything if we have one or the other. And so getting those into balance is really important.
No, the reason why I was asking is because like I had a creative moment this morning too, but sometimes I can associate the feeling towards more feminine than masculine whenever I'm dealing with these things too. I just come to that association this morning. So it's kind of interesting because I was thinking to myself, you know, maybe the guide is, you know, more feminine than masculine. So I was like, that was interesting. So almost or both, right? Yes, exactly. So all right.
So then there's the living ultra conscious earth, and that's the planet that we call Earth, and its spiritual conscious elements. It includes all living and non-living components, which make up the interior and the exterior of the planet, regardless of whether you believe that's a dome or flat or globular. You know, that's still the same thing. It includes the individual consciousness, which emanates from all living things, and it combines to create the consciousness of the whole. So I'm not Karen, a human being who's living on the earth, or like the way I am Karen sitting right now in my office. No, instead, I am an integral piece of the whole, and the whole is what makes it. So even the rocks and crystals within the earth, they're under pressure. They're piezoelectric. They're emitting a charge and an influence and a frequency depending on what their molecular components are made out of. And the birds are singing, and the bugs and everything is making these beautiful frequencies. Every cell in our body emits frequency, and altogether that creates what I believe creates the Schumann resonance, where you can actually look up through your browser, the sound, the frequencies that are coming from the different planets in our solar system and from the Earth itself. And so anyway, and when we think of the Earth as a whole complete thing, then that's often what we refer to as Gaia.
Okay. We have a question from Dan Jones. Yeah. Hey Dan, how you doing? She says, "Hi Karen, do you have any thoughts of the Galactarian alignment, the alliance of space beings and planets to benefit all universal kind?"
No. The short answer is no. And I'll tell you, Dan, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but my experiences, especially with ET, are intergalactic, or maybe even someplace else. Funny thing is it kind of fits for both flat Earth or globe Earth perspectives. And so I actually only very recently met some of these groups that you hear other people talk about, the Pleiadians and the Arcturians and the reptilians. Well, I only just very recently, through the exopolitical work that I do, had exposure to them. I know nothing about what's going on really within the solar system, except that the sun is right now acting up, which is a good thing because it's given us codes and affecting our DNA in a really profound way. So then there's my higher self in the 8th dimension, which includes my 3D conscious self and many of my alternative conscious selves as they exist as I experience life in many different timelines, which makes up the multiverse. So apparently, like Alfred Lambermont Weber, he words it quite beautifully. He says there's the universe, there's the multiverse, and then there's the spiritual realms, and together they create the omniverse. So like layers on an onion. So like layers on an onion, it also includes my 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th dimensional selves, my deep subconscious self, and my higher self is my complete self. I'm only a little piece. What you're talking to right here is just a little piece of the whole. And my higher self is, like I said, my complete self. All components work together to ensure a complete opportunity for soul development. So that's sort of the nub of the nub, is it's for soul development, and which I'm kind of feel a lot better knowing that. Then there's my soul team, which is a mostly, but not all, non-corporeal team of energies and beings who assist me with my current life journey. They include ETs, and what I mean by ETs is beings who are usually corporeal, but they're not indigenous to Earth. That's why they're called extraterrestrial. There's interdimensionals, who are beings who are generally non-corporeal, and they are not indigenous to Earth. Ultradimensionals are beings who are generally also non-corporeal, but they're indigenous to Earth. They're here. It's just that our limited sense of the color spectrum that we can detect with our eyes, and the auditory and touch and all the frequencies, we're very, very limited by our human bodies. And so we're not necessarily aware of these other beings that we share space with and don't even know they're there. And then there's angels, which are beings who have a choice to be corporeal or non-corporeal, and they're not indigenous to Earth. We often think of them as being in heaven or in a higher realm. And then elementals, beings referred to as fairies, gnomes, elves, even machine elves. They can be corporeal or non-corporeal because they are interdimensional. and some are indigenous to Earth and some are not. And their jobs actually, if you want to boil it all down, is to repair and do maintenance on the time-space continuum. Because this is actually a construct within it. We live in a construct within a construct. And they keep the whole thing going. And it's all for our mutual benefit. Then there's also ancestors, and these can be our genetic or foster ancestors. There's been many, many times where people have lost their parents or one parent and they get a stepfather or a mother or neighbor takes them in and raises them. Well, the wonderful thing is they're still our ancestors. They were corporeal and they are indigenous to Earth, but they're dead. And so we can access them easier than what a lot of people think. And then disembodied Earth people. Yeah,
sorry,
just a little bit more there, and I'm almost done. Disembodied Earth people, that's interesting. They're beings that are not genetically linked to us, but they were corporeal and indigenous to Earth, but now they're dead. And I'll give you an example. One time I was trying to do some strategizing on my life because, up till that point, my life had been a bit of a train wreck, just to be honest. And a being who identified himself as Sun Tzu gave me some information. And about a week later, I was in this old bookstore and I saw this little pocket edition of a book called The Art of War by Sun Tzu. And I bought it and I went home and I was reading through it, and it was the same information. So somehow I had called upon Sun Tzu to help me strategize in my life. Now, right. You might go, well, war, what does that have to do with my life? Well, you should see what my life was like. But it's all about strategy. It's about how to protect yourself and how to not let other people hurt you, right? And some guides are pre-chosen and others we choose as we evolve and we become aware of more options as our consciousness expands. And so there's no shortage of spiritual help and guidance. I've been told that we have 144,000 in our soul team. The ET realms overlap with the interdimensional, which overlap with the ultradimensional, which overlaps with the angelic realms. So like angels, they're interdimensional, but they're also angels. It's just the way I've created a system of making sense of this to share with other people. Doesn't mean that this is absolutely correct, and it may not resonate with other people, but it's sort of how I keep it all organized. Anyway, and it all operates within the love harmonic of the omniverse, which I explained before was the universe, the multiverse, and the angelic or the spiritual realms. And the whole system operates on the love harmonic. So there's absolutely nothing to fear. And then I just want to talk about a little bit about what love means, because a lot of people don't know. Our programming has limited us, our education and how to live and how to be so much that we don't realize, that there's a lot more to the picture than what we've been taught. And I'm not sure what Dave is saying there, Brian.
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize you were reading it. You just paused. Dave just said, how many craft were unexplained in the recent report, everyone? ? 144.
Oh, I think he's talking about the synchronicity of that number coming up. Yeah.
Okay.
So love is like a basket or a container. We think, oh, I love chocolate ice cream, or, oh, I love my girlfriend or my boyfriend, That is not what love is. Love is a basket or a container, and it's a composite of attributes and behaviors, sometimes called virtues. And anything other than that is actually not love. So love includes joy, peace, patience, mildness, kindness, self-control, faith, and goodness. All of those things at once create love and the love harmonic. And so, for instance, patience. Wow, exercising patience. That's a big job. You got to practice this stuff every day. Mildness, being mild. When we're mild, it's hard for people to be angry at us. And we think clearer. Kindness. Self-control. Love. There's no love without self-control. Sometimes, we don't eat something that we want to eat because we love ourselves and we love our bodies. perhaps we want to refrain from saying something that isn't exactly kind or loving to another person, isn't going to help, right? And so love begins within. So we have to love self. That's absolutely essential before we can externalize it and love other beings, other things. But it starts within. And that's what you pointed out to me, Ryan. I had heard the expression as above, so below. And you pointed out as within, so without. But we have to love within. Until we get good at that, we're not able to do a good job of loving externally. And so now you can see why love is such an important harmonic frequency for us to strive for, so that we can be in harmony with these other beings who also vibe on that same kind of level. And love is actually the hallmark of all higher beings, including ET. That's how you can tell what's real and what's not. Love creates a dimensional reality which is conducive to health, harmony, and true soul development. And beings that are of a lower frequency can't enter or affect the love harmonic because they can't go there. It's like they're quarantined. They can't go there until they've done the work themselves. In 2017, my spiritual guides told me it was time to come out of the closet, make public my ET experiences and knowledge that I received. And my goal is not to convince anyone about my truth, but rather to educate those who are open to this information and to inspire others who may share similar experiences to come out and tell their truth. Now is the time. And again, I wish to stress that there's nothing to be afraid of. These off-world beings are absolutely benevolent and loving. They have a do no harm mandate. They don't interfere with human free will. That's why we have to ask them if we want help. So it all starts with us and when we're ready to initiate the contact. And so this is just a cute picture of a bunch of different beings, just to end that. So that's it for my PDF, but it gives you a good background on where I'm going when I talk about my ET experiences. Because like people, tend to be afraid. And my experiences are really different. So I don't expect anybody to believe me, but I've had no experiences with anal probes and being taken in the middle of the night and stripped naked and put on a cold table and had stuff stuck in my ear. I've never had anything like that. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I'm just saying that my experiences are weird.
I've noticed there are different types of experiences, and I'm starting to figure out. And I'm also noticing patterns that certain types of experiences are happening to certain types of people. So there's like phenomenons within the phenomenon. So like it's interesting because there's it either happens and it doesn't happen, but it you can't disprove it, right? So the first thing I want to say is for someone who thinks that the English language is challenging, you did a pretty damn good job using it, explaining all that. So like, I mean, what I mean by that is I have like sometimes I have a hard time comprehending information and I got to read things several times. And with me trying to understand what's going on, this made sense to me. It made so much sense to me that like I believe this has to be this would be something I would invest more belief into being possible as an explanation. Still can't prove whether it's true or not, but it feels right. It feels accurate. It makes sense, and you did a really good job describing it.
Thank you.
Now, to put on this, the evidence cap. How would we go about proving the existence of that to someone who may not be able to get it or understand it? And if we go back to me, before the map, I wouldn't have gotten this. So I'm learning as I go too, and I'm learning from the people that connect. And it takes me a while but once it clicks, I'm like, oh, that makes sense now. So let's go back to the dumber version of me. How would you convince that? Because that guy needed proof. That guy needed facts.
Well, the way that I would prove it is to encourage all of you, if you're not already doing so, to initiate your own contact And whether you want to start by just being in contact with your higher self or an entity that you've come to affectionately consider God. Some people it's Christ, whatever, it doesn't matter. Whatever your thing is that makes you feel safe and comfortable, reach out and speak out loud when you're by yourself and ask them to come into your life and ask for proof. Say, is Karen full of, crap, or, is there a whole lot of help out there? And if there is, I want proof. And you can give it to me. And don't be a shy. Like, it's not like there's no big hierarchy, like, how where you have to give all this fake respect to people that are of higher status here on earth. There's none of that in the spiritual realms, because we're all just learning and we're perceived in such complete terms that we're never going to get punished or made fun of or disciplined harshly because we asked for proof. No, ask for proof. Ask for proof. Say, I not only want to know if this is real, I want proof. And sometimes the proof will come in a bunch of synchronicities that if you mathematically planned it, you couldn't have planned it, but better. It's uncanny what happens. The other thing is I have a program called Quantum Health Transformation. I'm hoping to talk about that a little bit at the end. And it's a 9-step program. And anyone who knows me, it's pretty obvious that didn't come from me. What I had to do was downstep the information in very complex, abstract thinking. And I had to downstep it into terms that everyone could understand. If you didn't have a higher education, that had no part in any particular religious or philosophical perspective, that had to be, done in such a way that it would be assimilatable by the majority of people. And it's really interesting when I'm doing my writing and stuff and I'm inspired, when I get it wrong, I have to go back and change it until it feels like, yes, that's what they're trying to get me to say. And I also experience an intense kind of pressure. And sometimes I don't want to make a podcast. I don't want to talk about what they're telling me. And I just feel this pressure. And it isn't until I go and do a podcast and get it done. Yeah. And then, I feel so much relief. But as for proof, Ryan, I don't have any hardcore proof.
Do you need it? Yeah, we don't need it, though.
And I'm nobody's leader, and I don't represent the beings, And so the thing is that what I want to encourage other people to do is to believe in themselves and in their own weird experiences and to keep searching and to have their own discoveries. And they might find that they look some parts similar to mine and some might not. But it's not all about Karen creating the whole reality of the whole world. That would be ridiculous. No, this is what I've been given and I've been told to share it. And I'm doing what I'm told. I was told too, there's a whole bunch of protocols built in. Like, for instance, you have to remain humble. And I struggle with depression. And the beautiful thing about depression is it helps keep us humble. Depression also is a perfect fertile soil for going in and doing introspection and looking at things from the shadow side, right? I haven't even talked about the shadow yet. That's an important part. But only in this way are people going to start having their own experiences and then go, oh my God, this is real. And what happens is what we're taught is real starts to fade as you see it more and more as a bunch of bullshit, pardon my language, or constructed to control us or get something from us or keep us stupid or from not coming into our sovereignty, right? And we start seeing the outside of the box or the fringes, that becomes the real. And when that becomes the real, you realize you're important, super important. There's nothing you can't do. But there's fail safes built in too. So sorry, I'm a little bit mixed up here. But basically what I wanted to say is, if we try to start a religion or a cult with this, it won't work. If we start thinking we're all that in a bag of chips and that we're representing some divine government, no, it'll self-destruct. There's self-destruct built into the whole thing. Only certain types of people with certain ability to stay grounded can actually do this. So that's another reason why lifestyle is so important. And people are just not getting that. They think this is just some kind of a meat wagon. The important part is the spiritual component. No. The body's super important, super full of wisdom It's amazing how the body even works. Every living thing is a miracle. Anyway, I'll stop rambling and let you get on with your question. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I was just going to add to that there's a few types of groups of proof, but like the two main ones is external and internal. So external proof and then internal proof. So external proof is an example of that is people wanting someone else to tell us the reasons for all these, why we are all the way that we are. And then there's the internal proof where you're asking within as to why you are the way that you are. And then so in terms of, but also in terms of evidence, the external proof is something that you can show everyone else to believe you, but then there's the internal proof that you can show to yourself to believe it. So in terms of evidence, you know that you just explained that in a very, very, very sophisticated way that resonated with me in the whole career part that I do on a regular basis. So I appreciate that. So we're going to pause and we'll continue after a message from our from our sponsors, pardon me. If you're listening to the audio version of this, head over to youtube.com/the Experiencers Support Association. You will see the video that goes with the audio. You're listening to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat, a podcast by the Experiencer Support Association. And we'll be right back.
It's your business. It's your property. Your assets are worth protecting. Blacklight Investigative and Surveillance Services specializes in patrolling and inspecting residential or commercial property against fire, theft, vandalism, terrorism, and illegal activity. People and buildings are monitored to prevent crime. Keep your property, your people, and your assets safe from threat. Our elite staff are dual licensed private investigators and security guards. Blacklight Investigative and Surveillance Services. Go to blacklightiss.com.
The same thing that draws aliens to our planet is the same thing that draws us to others. Exploration, curiosity, sustainability of life. That's why we go. It would make sense as to why they're visiting here.
Travis! Quit playing around, man. Get back here. Travis!
The last thing I remember was this numbing shock. Stunning sort of a feeling. Very powerful.
Get away from me!
I was just out of my mind with fear, just screaming the whole time.
It's been theorized that aliens prefer remote areas because they don't want to attract attention. Whatever it is that they're doing, they would want to do that in a less populated area. There are multiple accounts of the same thing from people from all over the world. People that do not know each other, do not live in the same cultures, and they're all looking up, they're all seeing things in the sky. So it would be naive of us to think that we're
Ryan is one of Canada's leading new UFO investigators. He conducts and oversees UFO investigations on a constant basis and was really taken by his research. He's compiled a tremendous amount of data regarding UFOs in Canada. And just as interesting, he really goes over how UFO investigations are done and what are some of the mistakes that people make when they submit evidence. Note for starters, don't edit your videos or photos before you send them. If you want to hear more follow-up conversation between Ryan and myself, you can go to richardolanmembers.com, where we have a candid conversation on ufology, the paranormal, and more. And remember, while we learn and grow and search for the truth, let's be good to each other.
Welcome to the Observation Deck, a state-of-the-art, one-of-a-kind virtual platform that takes video conferencing to the next level by using avatars to navigate a campus, just like you would in real life. First, you install the application and design your very own unique avatar. Then you're free to explore the various areas of the campus at any time from anywhere. There's so many areas and activities to choose from on the platform. There's a 1,000-seat auditorium, a large expo hall, a movie theater, a nightclub, an art gallery, and even a beach. Come attend a conference, or take a class, or hear a lecture. meet new friends, and interact directly with presenters. It's all right here on the incredible Observation Deck campus. Where in the world will you go?
Have you ever wondered, or maybe just thought to yourself, if there were others just like you? You know, people with extraordinary abilities, psychogenic advancement, and perhaps unique intuitions. Maybe you just wondered if there were other people who experienced unimaginable, unexplained, or even unusual and paranormal events. Are there people who have more questions, more fears than answers? Well, you're not alone. You've never been alone. We believe you. Sign up for EA today by going to tesacan.org/EA. That's TESACAN.org/EA. Oh, we're back. Welcome back. You're listening to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat. Did you know we have a private community chat for members on our YouTube channel? If you become a member, you will get bonus content like exclusive videos, including bloopers, behind the scenes, and members-only Q&A. I actually have a few bloopers that I've been working on recently, too, so I'm going to have some fun ones. Also, if you've ever experienced an unexplained event involving the paranormal, UFOs, extraterrestrials, dogman, or any other paracryptid, remember, head over to tesacan.org/reporting system. With the others who have already reported, be that example that proves we are making a difference. And if it wasn't for those reports, we would not be able to do what we do. And for that, we thank you. Still here with Karen Holton. How are you doing?
Good. I just want to let you know I've got a kitty cat that sometimes thinks that it's time for me to get off the computer and becomes a nuisance. So if you see me looking down, I'm not being disrespectful. I'm just trying to make her leave me alone so I can do the show.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. I have cats too. They sometimes pop up. I get lucky enough to lock them out, but sometimes they make their appearance. As you know, I got many cats. I have allergies sometimes. Those things get to me. All right. So, where do we go from here? Why don't we talk? When did you want to talk about your quantum transformation back? Is it transformation? Quantum transformation?
Yeah, I was thinking maybe the last 15 or 10 minutes. I really want to tell you about the beings, and I want to tell you about the big ship, and I want to tell you about how I go there and do that, and then how the exopolitical work is also part of that.
That sounds great to me. So let's get that rolling.
Okay, so the first, I did have an ET experience when I was in my late teens, along with my brother Dan. We weren't living in the same town, but we started having dreams, and we weren't telling anybody because we didn't want everyone to think we were nuts, that whole thing. Anyway, my brother came over and we were talking, and I told him about these dreams I was having, and he said, "Me too." And we actually got offered to be taken physically in a spaceship to another world. And we were told the night and to be ready. Like, he was having the same thing I was. And we didn't talk about it ahead of time, and we didn't even live in the same household. And the night that we were supposed to go, all of a sudden I got this intense feeling, don't go, don't go, don't go. And I didn't. And the next day I called up Dan. I said, "Dan, what happened?" And he said, "I don't know, Karen, but it was something really bad, and it's a good thing we didn't go." And he had the feeling, and I had the feeling, although no proof of it, that something went wrong, and possibly beings even died in the process. So I don't even really know anything more than that. And then years went by, and I kind of listened for contact because I knew contact was possible. And but nothing ever really happened. It wasn't until after my angelic experience. And anyway, long story short, I started doing the exopolitical work. And I got to tell you, the memories that have been released or that I've been allowed to remember and talk about are for a specific purpose. They are to show people on Earth how we can live differently. It doesn't have to be the same way, but it will give people creative ideas on how we can do things differently so that this world can be restored to a paradise. And because it's a beautiful planet, it's so important on so many levels. And so I started doing this exopolitical work. Basically, what that would mean is going to sleep and going to bed and just going to sleep. And it was while I was asleep. But I know they weren't dreams, because the dreams that I have are very disjointed. They don't really make sense. They're kind of surreal. And this was very, very specific. I don't have a lot of really specific memories of what we actually communicate. We don't talk. I got to tell you, in the extraterrestrial realms where I go, there's no talking. In fact, everything is done through telepathy, and it's not just thoughts that come into our mind. It's a combination. It's a real art to learn how to communicate that way, because it's through body sensations, emotional feelings, spontaneous knowings, images, and combinations of those things is how we communicate. We don't use English at all, you know. And it's way better for so many reasons. But anyway, I was aware that I was being taken, and it was while I was asleep, and I was aware that the work we were doing was really, really important, and that and the information that I was giving, I was basically just I wasn't an exopolitical ambassador because of being some kind of special person. It was just that I'm really in touch with being a natural citizen of this planet. That's older than Admiralty law. That's older than common law. I'm really rooted in my being a natural part of the planet. And they need people. I'm not the only one, by the way, that gets taken. Most people just don't remember. They don't remember. They think they're dreaming or something like that. And I would give information on why we do the things we do and how we feel about different things and our take on it. And they know that I am not representative of all the Earth citizens. I'm just one person, but for some reason they're interested in my perspective. Mm-hmm. And so it gets somehow downloaded into an information system that I don't even clearly understand. And so once I became aware of it, like I'd get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom and I'd be embarrassed because I know I'm in a meeting with these really important beings, and I have to go pee. Like, to me, that was embarrassing. But they're not affected by that. They don't think the way we think. They don't worry about little things like that there. But that is the one kind of work that I started doing. And as I started waking up more and remembering that I was definitely there, and it was, topics. But I think that generally what happens with many of us when we're taken is we come back without the memories of the event. And I'll tell you, I just want to clarify that. It's not some kind of mental rape. What happens is after we've been away and we've had our adventures, we work with a couple other beings who help us to bury our memories. We agree and we participate in the bearing of our memories. And it's for our own safety. I mean, I got to tell you, Ryan, I don't want to do the whole show on mental illness, but if you look at the history of mental illness, even today, if you go see a psychiatrist and you say you're having ET contact, or your doctor, your family sends you, that's considered extreme deviance. And that is heavily medicated out of you. And it wasn't that long ago before they literally were taking objects and driving them into the brain and destroying brain tissue so that we couldn't have those kind of experiences. Like, if you look at the true history of the things that have been going on the last 100, 200 years on Earth, it's pretty shocking and pretty disgusting. And nobody really talks about it because a lot of people don't even know about it unless you've been through it. And so it's for our own safety that we don't come back and start all talking about this. But the other thing is, we're here for soul evolution, and we don't want our adventures to take away from the really being planted here in the three-dimensional, because we're here as human beings for purpose, and we can't. So anyway, but I've been allowed to remember quite a bit because it's my job to get it out there, to show other people that there are different ways of living and being that other people might go, gee, I never thought of that, and wow, and that's sort of why. So anyway, it was after that then I went through a 3-month period where I would go to sleep at night and I'd get up in the morning, and oh my God, was I busy the whole night long and exhausted in the morning. And time is different there where I go. And I don't even know really where I go. I do know I go to the big ship. Big ship facilitates the exopolitical work. They kind of host it. The big ship that I go to also does training, which is like scientific expeditions to other worlds to gather information and to gather the information necessary to see about putting humanoids on. See, I believe that the Earth and many of these other inhabited planets or whatever they are, because I mean, I give respect to both globe and flat Earth, because I've never been in outer space and actually looked back and seen the Earth. I don't get picked up in a spaceship. I go there when I'm sleeping, right? And so what happens, it turns out that all these other planets and stuff, they have everything except humanoids. They've got the animals and the bugs and the water and everything. And they're all different, but they're like terrariums waiting for settlement. But in order to settle properly, a lot of data has to be collected so that first of all, see, this is one thing. I got too much information. I don't know what direction to go in. Basically, we have to go through a modification process before we can go to other worlds. They're all unique. When you're born on a world is different than when you're traveling and going to another world from external. It all has to be done in a way that is not going to upset the ecosystems, that's going to be in harmony with the beings that live there already. Because you see, even though Earth people are slow to get this, all the animals, they all have feelings. They're all self-aware. They're sentient. I don't know about bugs and fish, can't speak for them, but I know that my cat is self-aware and certainly intelligent. And so anyway, so there's these expeditions and we learn how to go down and collect data. There's a small area that we get quarantined into while we're there doing that kind of work. And that's not resettlement. That's kind of preparing for resettlement in the future or in another time. And then they actually facilitate the resettlement program for beings that are ready. Now, I got to tell you, people think, oh, like there's a lot of information saying, oh, the Galactic Federation, they got all these ships out in our atmosphere and they're going to come and they're all going to save us. Well, that is completely different than my experience. Because until we settle our bullshit here on Earth, do you think higher beings are going to want to pick us up and take us on to other worlds and infect the other worlds or even the big ship? I got to tell you, these beings are so loving, and many, many generations where they weeded out their dysfunction and their bullshit, they're actually our next level of what I would call evolution, spiritual and even physical evolution. And there's no way, like if they even knew about a lot of what's going on the Earth, they'd be so screwed up just from the shock and the horror of it. So there's no way people are going to get picked up and taken out to these pristine, beautiful worlds and onto these other ships only to infect them with all of our dysfunction, for lack of a better word. We need to work our way out of that before we can really be of use and go someplace else. Sorry, you got a question?
Well, I was just thinking, like, I mean, do we need to go someplace else? Like, do you think they're prepping us to go someplace else, or they're prepping us to change where we are?
It is my belief, and this is just my truth, and I don't mean to disrespect anybody else's belief, but my truth is the higher beings want us and know that we're perfectly capable of fixing things here for ourselves and reestablishing paradise here on Earth. Where the resettlement comes in is planets are not always the safest places to be. You know what I mean? There are all kinds of Earth changes that can literally wipe out most of the life on the planet. And also, what are, even if, like, for instance, there was a nuclear holocaust or God knows what, right? Under some circumstances, with the beings that are doing the work and are well on their way, they might get resettled. But there's no way the whole population is just going to get picked up and move this whole infection into another realm. It's not going to happen. And this is just my truth, like I said,
Mm-hmm.
So that's why people would resettle. People would resettle if, like, for instance, if the powers that be were going to just destroy all innocent life or something like that, then those things come into play. But it's a very big galaxy. Oh my God. I mean, I can hardly wrap my head around how big that is, never mind other galaxies and other worlds. And if we're in a flat Earth type of situation, there's all these other lands or areas or terrariums also. So it doesn't really make any difference. Tomatoes. We're kind of talking about a very, very similar thing. So the people that live on the big ship, there's lots and lots of people that live on big ships. The ships are big, like cities, or some are as big as planets. And they never settle on planets. Not everybody wants to live on a planet. And so those that live on the ships, they emigrate, from other ships, other habitats, and they serve as hosts, they serve as facilitators, they serve on so many areas. But it's nothing like Star Trek, I can tell you that right now. It's really, really different.
That's interesting because, we can physically work on machines to help us go from here to there, like to other places. That's why we have that exploration. We're trying to colonize on Mars, then what's next? So there is this notion or this belief that if we don't colonize another location, that we as human beings may not exist on this planet. But there's not everybody presently will be able to transfer. So the ones staying behind are the ones that will go. So, but I have this belief with everything else that's been going on, especially with the other experiences that I'm sharing and things like that too, is that perhaps what if the ones leaving are the ones that are wrong, and they're leaving and they're going someplace, and that's just where they go and they die, or it doesn't work and we're still stuck here. So they've abandoned us because they think that's the solution. And then how do we take care of each other? So perhaps the new world or the change in the world is still here. And because there's a lot of us that can't go there physically. We can go there maybe, mentally and all that other stuff too. So I think it's a bit of both, some are going to go, some are going to stay. And then, or maybe we'll take care of each other from afar, it's interesting because I ain't got no money for a spaceship to take me to Mars. So I'm not gonna fear that. I'm gonna spend my time, in case they're wrong, making sure that the circle around me is decent for as long as possible. Because if something's gonna happen, it's gonna affect all of us, right? And we can't do anything to change it. I just hope that before they leave, they let us know, what's coming.
Mm-hmm. Well, like I said, my perspective is a little different, but then my perspective is with beings that are our next step of what I would call evolution. So when I mean evolution, I'm not talking about monkeys turning into humans and then turning into something else. I'm talking about maturity and a new level of reality. So with the beings that I associate with, we don't travel from point A to point B. Never happens. What we do is we create an environment where point A becomes point B. It becomes point B. There's no travel as we understand it. Right. It's the coolest thing. It's on the big ship where I go, it's very much kind of like a festival, holiday, sacred times. When it's time to move the ship, we all go into basically, we eat very little that day. We all go into this beautiful meditative state at the same time. The ship, by the way, which is alive, emits these tones that help us to be in this very, very deep hypnotic state. And then there are navigators that work with the ship. I don't know how that works, but somehow what we do is we become point A becomes point B. And then we come out of the meditation, and it's really great because there's the very top of the big ship, there's like a huge observation lounge. And I was so thrilled when I got to experience that. So we're at the very, very top and we're looking up. And so we close our eyes and we do the meditation. And then the tones change. And then we come out of that and we look up and we're in a different place. It's very, very cool. I don't know how it works. It was very, very cool. Yeah, there's no, on Star Trek, you see all these workers at these panels touching all these buttons, changing. There's none of that. None of that goes on. Everything is done through telepathy. And there's kind of like, how we have the cloud where you can store all the information. It's kind of like that. All the information's there. And there's several ways of accessing it. But I had to laugh too, not laugh at you, but to laugh when you said that, oh shoot, I can't remember now. Sorry. It's such a big story. That's why I'm writing a book, because it's such a big experience. But there's two stories here, Ryan. One is my adventures on the big ship. As I mentioned, this happened every night for 3 months. Time is different there. I experienced something like about 3 or 3.5 years worth of experience into the nighttime sleeping of a 3-month period of time. And then I have been, my memories have just spontaneously been coming back, or one thing leads to another, or I have a question. And then I've got another ET who I call Bob the Gray, who's not really a gray, but he looks a little bit like a gray. And I don't know where he lives or even what he is, but he communicates with me and helps me to release some of my memories, answer my questions. Sometimes he facilitates lucid dreaming. He doesn't have a name. None of them have names. This is the other thing. I can't say, oh, it's this group from that planet system. Mm-hmm. It's not. These are beings who have immigrated from all kinds of different star clusters and different realities, different, I would say, galaxies even. And they immigrate and they live on the ship and they marry. They don't marry the way we do, but they choose mates. They have offspring. Their lives are a hell of a lot longer than ours. And but they spend within the first 100 years, you generally, creating offspring. And so everybody is what you would call very much mixed race. The other thing I wanted to say is this whole concept of ETs evolving from different kinds of animals. Like, for instance, people say the blue avians evolved from birds, and they say the reptilians, evolved from reptiles or from dinosaurs. Well, that's not been my experience. My experience is we're all created as part of not a human family, but of one species. And then we're settled into these different habitats where we then adapt to the habitats. So just like on Earth, we have huge diversity here on Earth of what humans are like and what we look like. Even within any one little family or town, there's huge diversity as to the size of our ears and how big our noses are and how tall we are or short we are. There's great diversity amongst the our ET brothers and sisters. And they're not... they're not all hung up on I'm a this and I'm a that. They don't have nationality and tribalism. They don't have any of that. They've worked all that stuff out long ago, and they don't have any of that. And so they're all very, very healthy, very, very beautiful. None of them are scary looking. There are variations. The way on Earth we have variations of skin tone, depending on how much sun we have, or even if we live up north and there's a lot of snow, like the Inuit people, they'll have pigment to help with all that bright, reflective light and stuff. There are are humans that have different eye shapes because some need extra, a little bit extra, just skin for helping to protect the eyes from different kinds of climates. So you will see those kind of variations, but you will not see, at least I have not seen, and in the realms where I go, we don't see, little gray aliens. We don't see scary looking things. We don't see things that might have evolved from dinosaurs. I actually thought a lot of that was made up until about a year ago when I was doing, I was off world doing the exopolitical work. And it was the first time I actually got to see some of these beings that other experiencers talk about. For myself, I was actually introduced to the whole concept of the reptilians and Arcturians and stuff like that. I don't remember everything because a lot of what I do there, it's in my own safety and best interest to not share that information at this time, right? But anyway, I got to tell you, the beings that are spoken of, that humans have experiences with in our, especially extraterrestrials that are coming to the planet physically, right? I actually got not introduced like, hi, this is Karen, no, but I got to see them. And I was really surprised at how amazingly advanced they were and how beautifully they were dressed, like royalty, like what you would expect from royalty. There was a great amount of dignity to them to these different ambassadors. And so that was the first time I realized that, there really are these other kind of beings. But in my experience and the communities that I'm involved with off-world, they were very, very similar in so many ways. Big difference, of course, is the communication. And the other thing I want to say is everybody kind of knows everything about everybody just through the energy. But there is different ways of using telepathy. They can run thought privately. They can run thought publicly. They can run thought like between partners, can run thought without sharing that with everybody else. So there are boundaries, for sure. And especially what really was awesome is how they protect their children. So they actually somehow psychically shield their children from other people's thoughts, especially people like me having to be trained on how to stop thinking and so loud and to be more focused with my thoughts. Boy, that was big job, but I had a lot of help and training. It was pretty good.
Interesting. There's just so much with the ship, though. I'm curious, like it's big, but like are you able to describe it, like,
yeah,
other than it just being big? Like, I'm just imagining.
It's, if you can imagine a sphere that's been squashed from the top and the bottom.
Okay.
That's the basic shape of it. The inside, there's a spiral that's like a wheelchair ramp, I guess, for lack of a better term, that goes from the bottom up to the top. There can be many, many, many floors. And there's also like an escalator, but it's not going down or up. It's going along the spiral along the other edge. So if you've got quite a ways to go and you want to talk, you want to do some research, or you have these neat kind of tablets. But anyway, you can travel that way, or you can walk. And then there's also another system that's very cool, and this is for vertical transport when you want to go quick. Really, really cool. Okay, so basically I'm in a lineup with about a half a dozen people. We're waiting to go down to the lower deck where there was these small ships that could take you off. I don't know. I don't remember everything. I only remember what I remember. But anyway, so somebody went down ahead of me and I watched, and there's basically two rails, kind of like, when you're getting out of a swimming pool, there's those metal rails that you hang on to when you go up the steps, a little bit like that, but a lot thinner, that go down, and you hold on to them, And for some reason, there's no gravity when you step into there. So you're just stationary. You're not standing on anything. You're just stationary. And then depending on how hard you squeeze that is how fast you go down, right?
Right.
And so so I get on and I turn around and my back is to the out and I've got these things and I'm going, I wonder how fast this thing can go, right? So I just gave it a really good squeeze and I went flying down this thing. So this would be like a kilometer down. Like this is not like a short ride, right? And I'm going down so fast. And the woman who was waiting to come down after me, she jumped on upside down. So we would be like head to head, except maybe like a block apart from each other.
Okay.
And she came down upside down. She came flying after me. And we were like playing this game and we were both squealing like girls, right? And laughing our heads off. And you get to the bottom, it's just like a little poof, and you step off and you're back into gravity again. It's really, really cool. So that's basically how you get around. Now, the ship is alive. And the other thing that's weird about the ship is it's sort of made out of some kind of, I would call it nanotechnology, something so small that I can't see what's going on. But everything is capable of being everything at any time. I'll give you an example. If you want to go to the washroom, right? Mm-hmm. The ship is tied into you on a psychic level, a telepathic level. The ship knows you need a washroom. All you have to do is leave the area where you are, and a door like appears, and you go in. Do you want to hear about how they go to the bathroom, or is that too much information?
Sure, no, go ahead.
Okay, so you go into this little room, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this little panel just comes out of the wall. And from it's like a little platform but you can stand on it without worrying about falling. And you stand on the platform and this kind of oval pleated tube comes up and it just waits for you. And you just park your business onto the tube and you do your business. When you're done doing your business, it feels like a little poof of air. It's some kind of, I don't know what it is, that just instantly dissolves any debris that's left in your private area, right? And you just get up and you pull up your pants or whatever, and then the whole thing collapses back down, the platform goes in, you leave the room and the door just disappears. So whatever you need will be there, but when you don't need it, it's not, if that makes sense. I would say the exception to that is our quarters, the baths. We have this amazing bath system, but even the what I would call the kitchen. So that's the other thing. What do you eat when you're there? When we're on the big ships, we're all vegan, and the food grows all around us and in every department. So you just walk around and you just pick what you want to have. And there's these we call them feeding stations, but actually we can do them wherever we want. And wherever we gather, and the unit just comes right up from the floor. It's got heating and cooling, and people just make their food. And it's very, very social, very relaxed, very, very social.
That's interesting.
That was really awesome. There's no house cleaning. This is the other thing that's really cool. There is different beings have different sensitivities to odors or to different things. And so it's important for us all to be kind of clean all the time, right? Mm-hmm. And so what happens is, I know there's the baths and you still have a shower in your quarters, but there's a constant kind of air circulation system. I don't understand it, but it's tied in to the ship's respiratory system. And so there's kind of like these little puffs of very fine mist that comes out every once in a while, and it's constantly then being sucked out and recirculated all the time. And there's also no replicators. Nobody would do a replicator because the living food has spirit energy in it too, right? So it's like really important. How many different races?
Yeah, Dave's asking how many different races of beings on the ship.
Innumerable, Dave. Innumerable. Because like I said, like there is a genetics department, because there are some different genetic groups of beings who, for rare reasons, shouldn't have offspring together. It could be cultural, it could be physiology, it could be anything. But most humanoids can come together and have children. And you often see beings from very diverse cultures come together. Just like on Earth, you see, diverse humans coming together and getting married and having kids. And so after, 50, 100 generations, who knows what anybody is anymore, because nobody identifies with being from this planet or that planet. But everybody does have access to their genealogy. So births are recorded, they're documented, but they're not regulated except for some very, very rare cases. And so you can't say that they're like this or like this. Now, the beings that I have seen, I give my own names to them because they don't have names. Even I don't have a name. But what we do have is when we're introduced to the community is we get to know characteristics. We get to know, and we form a composite kind of a name. It's not a name, it's not in a language, but a composite, if it's somebody who has big ears or somebody who is very extra gentle or shy, little composites of that strung together in a concept is what we call each other, right? We don't call each other by names. But yeah, it's amazing. And they've taught me so much. And so the one story is what happened to me, but the other story is, and what's much bigger story, is the things they've taught me to share with the people of this planet. Not to tell them to do it like this, but to show ways, like, for instance, of doing self-care and understanding what love is, and so many things that are such a huge impact on all of humanity. I think that's the more important story than the what the big ship looked like. Oh, the other thing too is they have these gatherings that are very much like what we would think of as a clan gathering, where there'd be other ships, and they kind of stick together. They kind of stack because they're kind of flattish on the top and the bottom, and they kind of stick together. And then there's all kinds of festivities and seeing what other beings are wearing and new inventions and different kinds of foods. Like there's all kinds of beings who make, I don't know, just for, they're not the same, but just to use English concepts for people to understand. You have people that'll make their own kind of sauerkrauts, or people that make their own kind of cheeses, and that's their specialty, and that's their big thing, is they love to bring these, to the meals and to the gatherings, right? And they trade. There's no money. Anybody can have anything they want at any time, but trade does go on because it's kind of a social thing and a way of beings to interact with each other. They're very generous. Of course, they can afford to be. Like, for instance, they live in the love harmonic. If you looked at someone and went, oh my God, what beautiful earrings, next thing you know, that person would figure out a way of getting you those, because very similar, if not the same, or even give you their earrings, because it doesn't matter. There's enough of everything for everybody. Anyway, so at these gatherings, you have cultural events. The most amazing cultural event that I witnessed was something like a concert, except they emote. So you get physical sensations along with sounds, along with body movement, like what we would call dancing. But it's much more, because it stirs you biochemically, emotionally, and energetically. Really friggin' amazing, I'm telling you. I miss it so much. The hardest part, like, I never reached out to MUFON or any place like that, because I thought I had no proof, and I didn't want to have to prove and sit on a panel and defend myself. I don't want to do that. So I just got to the point finally where I accepted, this is my reality. I'll share it. If people don't want to believe me, that's totally okay.
I'll encourage you to report to Tessa, because I can help bring that to life. We do recreation videos too, which haven't been shown yet. We're waiting for the new website to be done, but I can work with you to recreate these events so others could see what you've described. So make a report, make lots of reports.
Okay, you'll have to tell me how to do that. I don't know how to do that, but anyway, So
just before just want to be mindful of the time. We do have 15 minutes left, and I did want to squeeze in your quantum transformation program. But if you don't want to talk about it, keep going. Just wanted to let you know about the time.
I do. I'm sure we'll have I'm hoping we have other opportunities to talk about my adventures, and then my book hopefully
of course
is going to come out. And
we do book reviews as well, so you can talk to Cece about that.
First, I got to get it published. Preston Dennett, bless his heart, he's encouraging me, and he's helping me with the actual process, like formatting my information. Perfect. And he's going to help me get it on Amazon. Bless his heart. Awesome. What a sweet man. Yeah, I love him so much. I love so many people. I'm really blessed. Okay, I do want to talk about quantum health transformation. Okay,
what is that?
This is completely free. There was the original series. Then there's the 2.0 series, and now I'm working on the 3.0 series. And what it is 9 steps. And you start at step 9 and you work your way through to step 1. 9 forms the foundation for step 8, which forms the foundation for step 7. And that's how you go through it. I don't know why, just the way it evolved for me. And so the first 3 steps teach you ways to expand your consciousness, to open up your mind, to see things that you didn't know were real before, or ways of thinking so that we can be more unity conscious. How to do our shadow work, because everybody wants to be all love and light, but we need to do our shadow work, because that's the other half of the information that we need to base our decisions and our path in life on, right? So it teaches you how to do that. It teaches you how to use all kinds of technologies that maybe we don't think of as technologies, everything from orgone generators and crystals to earthing, affirmations, visualization, all that kind of stuff. That's not too hard. And then it also gets into male, female, dealing with the both energies and integrating both so that we can be complete people. And I also do a little bit of an explanation on transgender, because most people have no idea what that's really about unless you've lived it or had a close family member who's lived it. And it explains it in a way that, and I'm not telling people they got to be pro or against transgender, but it's an issue. It is what it is. And it helps people understand it in a completely, different way. That's the first 3 steps. So it's a super devoted to raising your consciousness and becoming an integrated human being. And then the third, the next 3 steps are detoxification, because our bodies are so are so toxic. Our water, our air, our food, what people are eating isn't even food, and they don't know it is chemicals. I mean, we're halfway there to transhuman, even without getting any medical devices, because of the components that are being added through pharmaceuticals and everything else. We need to detoxify. And when we detoxify, we decalcify our pineal gland, and it makes spiritual contact so much easier, and we can soar to higher heights. So that includes physical detoxification, like external, looking at what we're using for, like if we're using deodorant, if we're using bath products and cleaning products, and here we are poisoning our bodies, our beautiful body temple that we need to be clean. And I know Dave Petrelli, he's right on line with my thinking on this too, because he takes really good care of his body too. So I was so happy to find that out about him. But and then you have to do internal detoxification. So we need to look at what we're putting in our mouth, calling food and beverages and things. And we need to detoxify the whole system from the inside. So we got to stop poisoning ourselves, detoxify internally. And then we need to detoxify emotionally and understand that all of our emotions work for us, and that they're all important. There aren't bad emotions, and running from anger and running from grief and running from all those things just creates a whole bunch of other problems. And then there's finally detoxification from the construct, freeing our mind and realizing how we're being brainwashed so that we can reject those influences in our life. And then the last 3 steps are all to do with spiritual development, how to manifest. And that's another thing. I'm putting together a workshop. I want to teach people how to do time travel and how to shift timelines. And I've got about 4 techniques that are awesome that I use in my life that if I hadn't experienced it, I would never have believed it. It's so amazing. So anyway, so then it also teaches you how to form a soul team, how to get your own spiritual framework organized so that you're getting the kind of interaction, love, support, assistance, wisdom that you want. And then the very last step is step 1, and it teaches how to do basically the components of love, how to practice each one and what that's going to do for you. And the funny thing about it is when we're practicing virtues, for instance, patience, that's one, the big challenge for everybody. We start practicing patience and we find that our whole world shifts, things change. Maybe not the person we're being patient with, whether it's self or someone in our family who irritates the heck out of us or something like that. It changes and it's amazing. And so this whole program has been put together to help people to be free, and it's meant it's not meant to say do it all like this. It's meant to give you a jumping off point. You go, okay, Karen did it this way, I can see me doing it maybe that way, but it's still an improvement from being stuck in the construct. Do you see what I mean? And it's hugely important. Then we're pumping with all cylinders, we're making our own contact, and the world is shifting. And the funny thing is, when you step outside of the construct, it's like stepping outside of the box. Mm-hmm. We're all in the same room. There's so much commonality and so much love and respect. It's so beautiful. So it's absolutely free. You can find the playlist on my YouTube channel. You can go to my website. That's what I recommend. You go and check out the free resources tab, and the Quantum Health Transformations is on there, and it's different sections, and you go through the information. It's absolutely free, and I want you to share it with everybody. I want it to go out everywhere. So if you think it's beneficial, if you think it's helping you, share it. And then there's even PDFs that you can download. I am charging $3.99 Canadian, because I'm Canadian, and which is not much American. And because I have
it's like
I have to pay for my website.
It's free for Americans.
No, it's like $2.75.
Well, that's what I meant. Like it's basically
less than a cup of coffee. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, and you can duplicate those, and you can share them, and you can use them as teaching aids in your own program. Like this is an absolutely no strings attached program. All I ask is that people just look at it and try it, and then if they need help, they can ask me for help, and I do charge for my time because I only have so much time and energy, and I've got a lot of things on the go. So
nothing wrong with that.
That's what I'm the Quantum Health Transformation Program, and when you go to my website, you'll also see I have my own line of orgone generators. I designed them. A friend of mine made them for me. And so they're ethically sourced, they're precision made, they're totally unique. And if you don't want to get mine, I really recommend you get some orgone generators, because they also have helped me in amazing ways. And that's another way that I, help pay for my expenses and stuff. So that's, and what's made is made. We're not making any more. So when they're gone, and that's
cool.
Another whole story, but
awesome. So we have 5 minutes left, and I want to bring in that final segment because I know you know what it is because you've seen the show before and you've mentioned it a couple times throughout, and I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but I want to get into it anyways. So this is Sorry Not Sorry. All right, so I'll just give you the quick rundown version. With all the knowledge and experience that you have, what shape is the Earth?
The Earth is neither flat nor a globe. It's neither. And I don't know exactly what it is. And, you know, I've done through astral projection, flying away from the Earth so I could turn back and look at it. And it's really funny. What happens is I get distracted, so I don't actually see it. I do have a friend that I've astral projected with to the moon, and we've looked down on the Earth and seen it as being at least round, but not necessarily a globe. And then with the intergalactic resettlement program, or being on the big ship, twice I saw what looked like globe planets, but one was from the habitat or the world that we were on where we were doing research, and we were looking up and we did see two moons. But how do I know that isn't a physical construct like the Earth that we live on? You know, maybe, right? And another time, like I said, when we moved the ship from one location to another, you look out and you see what objects that look like planets that are close, you know, the bigger ones that are closer by. But there's no guarantee that they're actually, they could be, I don't know what they are. But to be honest with you, I find the evidence for what they call the dome or the flat Earth way more convincing than the globe Earth, because why is there no pictures from space, real pictures of our beautiful planet? Like, what's going on? So I am saying that I think it's neither. I think it's door number 3, and I don't exactly know what that looks like.
It's inconclusive. There's not enough evidence to conclude one way or another. Unless we trust the government 100% with what they are telling us, and we trust the scientists as to, but science is still theory. No. You know,
I don't trust any. I think science is religion. I don't trust anything that comes. Pretty much, I'm now at the point where I see everything we're told is an inversion of the truth. So if they say don't eat fat, are you kidding? Fat's super important in the diet. You know, the right kind of fat. You know what I mean? Anything, I don't trust anything they say, or Neil deGrasse Tyson or any of them.
Oh yeah, well they all have their warriors that defend one side or the other, and then politicians and all that whatnot. So if the shape of the Earth was not as it was told, would it matter?
No, because what matters is that Karen gets her shit together, that Karen takes care of herself, that Karen finds sovereignty and supports sovereignty, that Karen shares what she knows with other people, that I become a kinder, more compassionate, more empathetic, more loving human being while taking good care of myself as well. So I don't, that includes not opening yourself up for abuse and things like that. Taking exquisite care of the temple body. I'm telling you, it's a full-time job. Dave Petrella and I, we talk about this sometimes, where every single day we're practicing. We're doing our introspection. We're doing our research. We're thinking about things. It's a big job to take care, to basically for me to mind my own business and make sure what I'm doing resonates. Because the other thing too is if there's reincarnation, I sure as the heck don't want to come back and do the crap over again. I want to get it right.
No, I hear you with that. So we've made it. Is there, do you want to tell everybody where to find you real quick?
Yes, please come visit me at my website, www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com. That's KarenHolton healthcoach.com. And you can find me at Karen Holton TV on both YouTube and on Odyssey. And please like, share, and subscribe.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. This was a great show. We are going to do the after chat after that. So if you are in the comments, just say hello in the YouTube chat, and we're going to have a conversation here. And Cece, you good for an after chat? Yeah, she's good. So thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. And we'll see you on the next episode of Beyond the Tinfoil Hat. If not, we'll see you in the after chat shortly. And thank you, Karen. Have a good night.
Good night, everybody. Thanks for coming.
That's it, everybody. That is a wrap. That is the end of it all. Thank you for joining me tonight. I look forward to seeing you back next week, where we'll continue to have this conversation deep down into the rabbit hole in which we call the Ultra Spectrum. Thanks for joining us. I said that already. Oh well, fuck it. Feed the world. Hello.
Hello, Ryan. How was that for you?
That was good. That was fun. That was great. Karen, if you are still with us, comment in the YouTube channel. How was that for you?
Really good. I really resonated with a lot of what Karen said, and I think she and I, and possibly Serena, because she said she resonated with her as well. I know in my witchcraft or my quantum craft, I do a lot of what she's mentioned, so I think there's similarities there that I'd be really interested to talk with her about. Just different names and different maybe methods.
Cool. Yeah, no, it was really good. It was really educational. It was checked a lot of boxes. It felt really good. It was understanding. It was comprehensible. Like I enjoyed it. And then of course the whole like ticking all the boxes of the whole like looking at the wheel, thinking, okay, maybe there's one of these chairs over here. Who knows? Because there's like it's just always fascinating to find to meet people that resonate with the mission, and at the same time, Karen's one of those people that I've talked to many times and known about for a little bit, but never actually had that type of conversation until now. So learning that much after the fact, I always appreciate that. Doing business first and then learning about their experiences afterwards. It kind of like it fits. It makes sense as to why you gravitated, why everything is working, and it just feels good. So that was one of those types of episodes for me. Plus, she's Canadian, so yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I'm definitely going to check out her healing and her coaching there.
Yeah, quantum health transformation program.
Quantum health transformation program. Okay, yeah, I'm going to be looking into it for sure and see maybe it's something we can add to the website as a resource for experiencers.
That's what I was thinking that too. I was definitely thinking that, and I was paying attention to her teaching. The fact that she wants to teach when the academy's ready, there could be opportunity there. So there's this is a good fit. This is good. So hello everybody who's in the chat. Hello, Dave. We know you're here. We talk about you a lot. Hello, sir. Serena, good to see ya. Hello, hello. Meeting next week. Don't forget. We'll see you there. Dan Jones, thank you for tuning in. How's MUFON treating you? Just so you know, the Tesla website is going to be done soon. It has to be done soon, but it's gonna be cool for reporting stuff. I might be able to bring you on sooner, man. And what else we got here? Oh yeah, you brought up Anjali, eh? In the middle of that conversation.
It was in flow with the conversation at the moment because Karen made a statement about how if someone comes out with these experiences and is, driven for personal gain and these sorts of things, that it's going to just crumble, I think was the wording she used. Right. And that was the first thing that crossed my mind was Anjali, because it was like exactly what happened to her.
Yeah, no, that's bad news bears, that one. So Karen is here. Hi, Karen. Good to see ya. So, okay, what do we got going on for Tessa? What's new?
Well, the website, we've been doing, like you said, lots of work on that, and hopefully the launch will happen very, very soon. We're really looking forward to it, and we're still trying to figure out new dates and format for Experiencers Anonymous. So if anyone has any suggestions for that or how they'd like us to offer supports, please let us know at admin@tessacan.org. I'll write it in the chat. Otherwise, we don't have anything going on until next week, your podcast. At least to my knowledge. Do you have any interviews coming up?
The next interview that I am scheduled for, I did an interview, yesterday? Or no, Tuesday?
Tuesday, yeah.
Abnormal Realities.
It was really good.
Did you listen to it? Thanks.
Yeah, do you think you'll go back? It sounds like they were really open to you.
Yeah, they both added me to Facebook and then all that other stuff. So they're kind of having a conversation about that. They have a radio station. So it might be something we should look into. Maybe we can get this podcast on there as well. Mm-hmm. My next scheduled podcast is May 10th, which is, I guess, next week. And it's on Forbidden Knowledge News. Is that the same thing that she mentioned? Karen, is that what you mentioned in your bio? Forbidden Knowledge News? Is that the same thing? Do I have a podcast on that same network? That's interesting. And then May 20th, I'll be on a podcast called Over the Rainbow. Yeah. Oh. That's my lineup so far. Nothing for June. We have anything set up for June? Are you working on it?
Working on it.
Working on it?
Always working on it, but yeah, we're trying.
It's all good. It's all good. June's going to be busy. So yeah, June too. So we want to have everything done by June because we're going to have the Butter Tart Festival and we're going to have a Tessa table next to the Blacklight table, and we're going to meet for the very first time in real life.
In person.
In 2 years?
Yeah, a little over 2 years, yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to Priscilla about that today. Is we it's like, is this real life? We're gonna it's like, so it's gonna be a cool thing. It's gonna be a cool thing. Okay, so she did comment. She said yes, Chris Matthew. Yeah, that name sounds. Yeah, Matthew.
I'm listening.
No, don't listen, Siri. I didn't ask for you. Get out of here.
Your Siri has a male voice? I'm into it. I didn't know you could do that. I don't bother.
I didn't know either. I'm part of the Forbidden Knowledge News Network. Perfect. So there you go. Look at that. That is funny. So yeah. So that's where I'll be next. Odyssey. Now these guys have Odyssey Radio too. So do you know Abnormal Realities there, Karen? Let me see if I can find where this podcast was, because you said they had Odyssey Radio, but you mentioned you were on odyssey.com, so I don't know if that's the same thing. Karen is also asking where we are from, and she says she lives in Red Deer. So that's
so she's in Alberta, yeah. So we're in Ontario.
Yeah, we are
terrible. Yeah.
Table? No.
That's what my brother calls it.
That's funny. Yeah, no, we're from Ontario. And yeah, it's different parts. Still live. Oh, Retro Man and Simulation Channel. Still live. Yes, we are. We're doing the after chat right now, so you missed the show. And we're just talking about the show after the fact. And we're just having a conversation about what's coming up new for Tessa and things like that, too. So thanks for tuning in. But you have to watch the replay. Yeah. Okay. So what else we got? So EA is coming. Like basically everything on the website. The website has been putting everything on hold because the way we've done things in the past are going to be done totally different with the launch of the new website. It's going to be better. It's going to be easier. It's all going to sync together. It's going to be full of colorful colors. It looks great.
It looks really
It
good.
looks so great that I'm tired of looking at my website right now because it looks like shit. But before, like it looked great. I was so confident and proud about it. But you get expert help on design and things like that. So these guys have been doing really good. Taking a little bit longer than I had hoped, but they are trying to make this work and set the stage for the next few years for research. So we're going to have an intricate database. We're going to have an intricate mapping system, persons of interest. We're going to have everything is going to be linked. There's going to be pages for all the content creators, pages for our podcast shows. And then once with the launch of that too, I can start putting in documents, and then that's going to go like crazy. I can finally get rid of this stack of documents here and put them into a system that matters, because I can post them online. We know that, and everyone does it and goes around in a circle. And I want to, when I do that, I want to also do it in a systematic way that matters. So, so I'm really excited about that, to get back in the cases. We're going to have these recreation videos that members have already seen. So if you're a member of the YouTube channel, you can see those in advance. They've been out there, but we will make them to the public with our witness statements as they come out. But everything's going to kind of link, and it's going to be good. There's going to be lots of reveals, and then I can finally get back into the cases, because I got a year and a half worth of cases that I got to open up and do. But the new format will be established, and it'll be easier. A lot of it'll be automated, so we're a bit behind, but once it's done, we can play catch up. But then it'll be like boom, boom, boom. You want to do a report today? Sure, no problem. I'll put one out next week. Done. Like it's gonna be. And Dan, if you're listening, it's gonna be like 1,000 times better than MoveOn. And why? Because I know the insides and outs, and I spent some time with a guy who knows how to do things. And I tell you, man, you're going to do one case with Tessa, you're probably not going to go back to MoveOn. And I'll tell you, just because of the way the system works. So
it's pretty exciting. I can't wait to really announce it and launch it to everybody. And
nothing against MoveOn. It's just they need to evolve, and until they evolve, we'll meet you at the top. But
I see Lisa here, Lisa Savoy, who's
hey Lisa, didn't see you.
Yeah, so she said I'm going to try and get to a UFO convention this year.
So maybe ours. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, hopefully it's ours. We're launching the retreat this year. It'll be in Collingwood, so it's not that far from where you're located, and maybe you could join us there. That'd be great to see you.
Yeah. So we gotta hammer out those details on the meeting next week, because we gotta spend some mass marketing, so that way we can have everything ready for the Butter Tart Festival here in Ontario. And we'll be telling everybody that we need vendors. We're going to need speakers. We're going to need a whole bunch of things to come together, and we should be announcing it kind of now-ish. But we need the website. So once the website's done, then we announced everything. EA's back. Uncharted Case Files is back. Everything that we've been doing is back. Full freaking gear and throttle. So we might be able to whip together a conference in like no time. Who knows?
There's time.
There's lots of time.
There's time.
Lots of
It's
time.
not going to be just whipped together either. Don't give the wrong impression, Ryan.
Well,
But, folks, if you're interested in maybe joining our conference as a speaker or something, again, just email us at admin@tessacan.org and we'll see what we can do. That'd be great.
Yeah. And we can do it virtually too.
Yes.
Well, I think we're going to find a way to do this hybrid as well. And it's going to be, what is it called? Interconnected, a UFO and paranormal retreat.
Absolutely. That's the name.
Yep.
Don't
and
wear it
we'll
out.
be doing some teaching, and we'll do some sky watching is the plan, weather permitting. September is the last weekend of September is the goal. I think it's the 23rd, 24th, 25th. I don't know. I'll have to check.
Yeah.
But that's the plan. So we're going to set it up and hope people show up, and we'll see what happens. Yeah. What do we got here? Everyone chit-chatting. Hello. Hi, Dave.
Yeah.
Oh, Allison's in. Hi, Allison. Good to see you. She was our guest last week. I hope, thank you. Obviously, it was good enough. You're still here and you're still a member, so thank you.
Could you imagine she comes back? I'm not
no member. I would be like so offended. I'd be like, what did I do? What did I do wrong? Perfect. So you guys are just talking to each other. So awesome. Cool. All right. So I think that's it. That's all we're waiting on is the website. Like I kind of wanted to show it like as a tease, but like I was like,
we gotta wait. There's still some kinks to work out. And
Did you notice that the color scheme is similar to my Uncharted case files color scheme?
Yes, I did. I thought that was intentional. That wasn't intentional.
I don't know. Subliminal, maybe? I don't know. So if I were to, let me just find Facebook Uncharted case files. Where is it? No, I don't want to go to where I do things. I got to make sure it's all safe and stuff on my Facebook. My mom messaging me saying, hey, honey, anything like that. Let me see. I haven't done Uncharted case files in a while.
Because of the website. We'll just blame everything on
that. Well, it is because of the website. We're waiting.
And we're in this holding pattern. It was supposed to be done by now, just so everyone knows. It was supposed to be launched at the end of April, I believe. So we were really excited. Everything was going well, and then we hit a snag.
Well, yeah, they had a little bit of staffing changes, and that kind of delayed everything. And then I made things complicated, and then I explained it to them, and again, and it's just basically trying to take this massive idea that I have to come to life, and then for them to kind of understand. As like Karen was mentioning with language, right? Like me trying to communicate to them what's in my mind without knowing a damn thing about how to build a website, other than me, so there was a little of a learning curve, but I think we finally figured it out. For those of you who haven't subscribed to the channel, you can click subscribe. You can also click this join button here too, and you can become a member and you can see those behind the scenes videos that I was talking about. But this is the Uncharted case files. So there's the color scheme right there. So this is a little clue as to how the website's going to look like with these colors. There's going to be some light green, lime green, purples, blacks, whites. It's going to look good.
Yeah, it does look really, really good.
Yeah, it looks really good. And then I'll be able to upload documents, and then I can continue the Uncharted case files, which will also stream live on my Facebook page as well as the YouTube. So that'll be my podcast outside of this one, where I am just me. I'm not a host. I don't need to be polite. I don't need to be nice. I'm just going to tell you how it is and what's good and what's bad, and interpret these government documents that I've retrieved from the Canadian government. And I won't be, because of the website, I won't be able to do an Uncharted case files for every single document. So, because that's how fast everything's going to go up. So I think, Cece, maybe we can add in rotation, once I get a few up, you could maybe surprise and say, you know, these are the topics for this week, and then I'll read those documents by choice or something, you know, whatever ones are significant. And then we'll kind of I think that might work that way too. If you guys are members of the YouTube channel, there's also a playlist called the Citizen Paranormal Report. This was a preview, I think. Let me see.
Through my online store alone, we've sold over $500,000 worth of spices. That's so crazy.
Just now streaming here will be Rockcliffe, Canadian Forces Base Rockcliffe, where some UFO events had occurred. Just to let you guys know that I was stopped by military police. Yep, that happened.
So fun.
Oh, fun times. I mean,
yeah. And go ahead.
I'm pretty sure that if I got arrested, she would have divorced me that day. But you know, there's definitely a lot of anxiety on that day. But there is a full-length 40-minute video that will be released soon. It's already uploaded for members, so members will be able to see that. And that is the first new Uncharted case, new Citizen Paranormal Report since I did these with MUFON. So it's like 2 or 3 years old, that program, and then now it's a final new episode and whatnot. Why do we have members content? Because the members are the ones that help us keep this free for you guys on the outside. So we're trying to create a program exclusively for members, so that way the members get more value for the money that they're putting in. Mm-hmm. So there's we're also trying to get more perks in. We're trying to do more for membership. Membership is $2.99 a month Canadian at the minimum. You can go up to the higher tier if you want as well. There will be a membership built on the new website too, and a private forum. So there's a lot of things too. But just so you know, the things that members get, some of those things we'll bring over to the free side later on. But it's not going to be things that you need to know to save the world. You know, like if it's not going to be like a message that's very important, like the experiencer support, like the resources and things like that. You don't have to become a member to get that stuff, to make a report and have it investigated. You don't need to be a member to get that. So just want to be clear, like benefits of a member, you get to see some of these new projects that we're working on first. You're going to get this episode where you'll actually see me detained for a long period of time. I got the entire video recorded of that, and that is interesting. So things like that. I mean, we're trying to do more for members, and we're trying to do more. And then eventually we'll kind of do all that other stuff. We are going to film some other projects too, to help raise money for the organization so we can do more. And the more, that's the things that we're doing that too. So for those of you who are not members, you don't have to join. Just understand why there's a separation of that. We're still just as important, because there's ad revenue. There's a whole bunch of things. Everything is contributed to the cause. What we want to do is try to give more for free and pay the bills at the same time. And we want to thank our members who are members for helping us keep this going, because we're still here, year 4.
Yes, thank you to our members and everyone who joins and watches our shows. So I just wanted to bring up to your attention, Ryan, should we mention that the URL for the website's changing?
Yeah, we probably should. So once the website is done, it will be, instead of tessacan.org, the new URL will be experiencersupport.org. So it'll be a little bit easier for people to find, and it makes more sense. Tessacan.org was simply Tessa, the Experiencer Support Association Canada, and .organization, and obviously I didn't think of experiencersupport.org back then, but luckily it's still available and it'll be easier to find. But everything with the old slug, so the old link will transfer over if we're still getting caught saying whatever, because we're gonna have to learn to say the new website too, right?
Yes.
So it's so close. We're so close. We did our part. So, but did you see the email of her saying they've been working on it all day yesterday and all day tonight? Allegedly.
We should have an update supposedly tomorrow, hopefully.
I hope so. I hope
I
so.
was
And then we
really
get to see it.
hoping. I was really hoping we would have more for today to like really show people.
Yeah.
Maybe like.
Yeah, because what we'll do is we'll get access, and once we get access, we can start adding our documents. We can start adding a little bit of things. We're not going to add everything before we launch. We're just going to add enough to places so people can look at it, even if they're new. So it just looks like a brand new website. But for those of you who've seen the old website, you know, let me just show you the current one. It still works. It's just, and I'm sure every time I say it's crap, people are like, it's great. I'm like, that's awesome. But like this next one's like
I think it's great until my struggle was when we like started monetizing it, like for the ads where it's just
so we're gonna find a better way to monetize as well. Like I put this document up too recently that no one seemed to care about, but because I was testing out a watermark feature. So for those asshats that like to steal these documents and take credit for it, and then without retrieving them their own way. But this is 38 pages of what the Canadian Space Agency provides on UFOs. 38 pages right there. Published that April 19th, and nobody cared. See? Which is why we got to do the Uncharted case file so we can talk about it. But there's a whole bunch of declassified documents that people can be looking at on this website. And you
give a summary of it, right? Like, don't you? Is it just the documents?
Well, this one particular, I just wanted to test the watermark.
Oh, okay.
Also, a particular journalist happens to be writing stories, and this was part of it. So I just wanted to get it out there first, and the story hasn't come out yet. So I think there might be some rewriting going on or a new story, but who knows? But that's that's how we roll in UFO Twitter. So it's got it's going to have all the same functions. I mean, the website is good. It's just this new thing is better.
It'll definitely be easier to navigate, so you won't need a key map to figure out how to navigate the information that we have, because it's extensive and complex.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was basic, and then it grew, and then expanded, and then it's like, okay, we need someone to help do this, and then that's going to change too. So at least having them on our team, whenever new ideas come up, we can hire them again just to do an extension because they're familiar with it as well. Because I was thinking for additional reports and stuff too, right? Because like Karen was mentioning, like there's one thing when we work with the ultra spectrum, and regrouping them to remove the archetypes, right? So this is trying to figure out the events of experiences, but then there's another dive that I'm going to have to eventually do where I'm looking at the characteristics of the beings. Do they wear clothing? How do they communicate and things like that? It's going to be a different dive that we'll have to take just from the unknowns. So at that point, with the secondary questions, talking to the experiencers or looking at the case to pull the data that kind of tells us the who, what, where, when, and the particulars, so we can compare and contrast the entities, because we're going to have all these entities that look together. But how many of these entities have the same color skin? How many of these entities have the same shape of eyes? How many of these entities, all these other things? Because we can't species them until we're able to capture one and identify it. Sort of, right? But
Karen's probably like rolling over at the concept of capturing an ET.
But so we're gonna have to relabel or regroup these subgroups too.
Yeah.
So people don't call the wrong thing a reptilian or the wrong thing an Arcturian. We need to have an understanding of what these characteristics are, and then see where they kind of fall in line with current settings, right? Instead of calling it a Pleiadian, it's just these are beings that are bipedal and have blonde hair and pale skin. That's it. That's what this group is, group one.
Yeah. Or they I think many people call them Pleiadians because they come supposedly from the Pleiadian star cluster, right?
Well, there's a bit of an assumption based on how they look, based on what's been told,
right?
And then how much of that do we know? But some experiences that's communicated to them. If it's communicated to them, then we might get a little bit of an idea if we trust the testimony of the species. Now, that's even like a deeper dimensional investigation. You have to trust the source, which is the experiencer. But is the experiencer getting truthful information from the species? We don't know that. I need the Pleiadian to sit here in the chair and be like, okay, show me where you come from, prove it. What shape is the Earth? All those things.
Yeah.
There is no Earth. Like all these things, right? Who knows? But at least if we can regroup them and recategorize them in that way, then we have a better understanding. And then we can kind of maybe focus studies on that. And then all these other people that have these answers, they can take this raw information and then they can compound and advance their studies even further because all the fluff has been removed. And hopefully we get to the answer sooner.
Yeah, well, hopefully if, all our minds join together as a human collective, we surely should be able to figure it out. Have a good night, Allison. Thanks for joining.
See ya.
While Karen is here still, thanks for staying, Karen. Did you want to maybe show her the reporting system? Because she had mentioned...
yeah, I could do that. I could definitely do that. So on the website right now, if you just click submit a report, that will take you to the reporting system. And we'll just scroll down here. And we'll just give you the whole spiel about how it works and just to make sure you're comfortable. All fields are required. It's going to ask you if you witnessed the event. If you say no, it's going to send you to a portal for investigators, which is called Project Babel. But if you say yes, it'll let you in, and then you just answer the questions as they come in. And it's not going to ask you anything that's not relevant based on your answers. And then you'll get down. I'll say this too. When you get down to things like this, there's a little cheat sheet here that kind of tells you the format in which it has to be in. Sometimes there's been challenges with submitting reports and they're not going through, and that's mostly because this format isn't followed. That's why I put that there. But in the new map, in the new reporting system, that will be fixed. But right now, unfortunately, we still have these bugs that we're working through. And then, when you get down to Karen, while you're still here, and I want to emphasize this to anyone that is reporting. If you, where is it here? Way the down here. What type of experience you're reporting? So we've categorized them based on the archetype. So there's abduction, aerial phenomenon, astral projection, apparition, crop formation, cryptid entity, extrasensory perception, human initiated contact, orbs, possession, unexplained livestock death, unusual paranormal activity, and extreme weather conditions. I'm pretty sure one of these categories will capture something. And if it's not that, then you just get the one that's closest to it because you'll have a chance to explain. And if you're unsure, it'll give you a definition. Now, what's important for you, Karen, and other people is that when you have an experience where it involves what I call the paranormal hat trick, consciousness activity, psychic activity, entities, and perhaps craft, right? It would be very beneficial if you did a master report on the experience for just the aerial phenomenon. So do one on the craft itself, as much detail as you can about the craft, as much detail about the entity. So do another report, but select entity. And then do another report, on whatever you want to call the type of psychic ability. But there's different pre-types in here too. And the reason for that is because when we investigate them separately, we can kind of put them all together. So if you have paranormal experiences, or you see an entity in a different time, or maybe you saw the craft and all those other things too. So it's very important to split it all up because the investigative process is different depending on what we're looking at, and then we can put everyone back in the scenario. So we investigate the psychic ability first, all that criteria, investigate the entities with that criteria, then the craft with that criteria, and then we put it together. And then this is the experience. All right. Where are we at? We got any questions or comments?
No, I think we're pretty good. Karen says thank you to CC and Ryan. UFO Man just joined us. And
UFO Man, you're always joining late, man.
I think he's got a show right before or at the same time as ours.
Oh, maybe. Hey, man, how you doing? I think you should get me on your show. It's been a while. Let's play some catch up. Then we can actually talk. But yeah, cool, man. Cool. Well, I think that's it. I think we'll end it.
It is it. It's a late. Have a good night, everybody. I'm not
okay, yeah, we're done. Yeah, we're done. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you next week for. Do you know who our guest is?
No, not yet. Maybe someone from AEDC.
Okay. Well, we'll see you next
week. The Alliance. Take care, everyone.
Okay, peace out. Bye-bye.